What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Cyhadow, where we talk all things anime, comics, and everything in between. And thank you to the subscriber that requested this video. You're getting what you wanted, fam. We are talking Gaara versus Killer B. Now, before we get into this, with all my death battles, I talk about powers, abilities, and scenarios. But this one is going to be a very different type of death battle. I made a previous video talking about if Gaara was a perfect Jinchuuriki. I highly suggest y'all go check that one out. But the main thing we got to look at is two things. Number one, if Gaara was still a Jinchuuriki, and number two, the end of Shippuden. Since I started talking about Gaara, we'll just start off with Gaara. Gaara is technically, from the Sand Village, so obviously he has some sort of sand usage, but mainly he is, we all know him as Gaara of the Sand. He's able to manipulate sand due to his magnet release, able to either make it heavier than steel or lighter than air to where he can fly or deflect ninja web. Main thing we also got to look at is that Gaara's sand also has his mother inside of it, not the way you think of it, and basically with that sand, that sand kind of acts on its own and it protects Gaara no matter what the fuck the situation is going for. He also has a sealing technique, which is called Grand Sand Mausoleum. Now that basically has it to where it makes a giant pyramid and seals people away inside of it, but also his sand is able to do other things like trap people, snatch them out of Susanos, and basically destroy limbs and shit. Just think of Rock Lee. Yeah. On top of his sand armor, that basically is a piece of sand that covers his entire body, and if anything, if you get past it, you basically get to the soft squishy part. We also have to look at Gaara when he was a Jinchuuriki. Now, when Gaara was a Jinchuuriki, now granted he had no sleep and that dude was just a vicious killer, but he was also had access to a partial transformation, which basically looked like him and Two-Face. Two-Face was Shikaku, one half of Two-Face was Shikaku and the other half was Gaara, but it was also able to separate parts of that sand that made up the partial transformation and trap people in it, Sakura, and also has it to where if he fell asleep, Shikaku would come out to play. He didn't have access to a Jin cloak. He definitely did not have access to, any of Shikaku's other abilities, like being able to seal people away due to Shikaku's magnet release sealing technique. But the main thing we also have to look at is that if Gaara was a Jinchuuriki, he would also have access to all of those things. If he was to be a perfect Jinchuuriki, I believe he would have access to a lot of different things. Like instance, he would have access to Shikaku's sealing, which is all the markings that are on his body. He would have access to that due to putting that on top of sand. I feel like the sand would have parts of Shikaku's chakra in it to where they would be able to recognize chakra signatures that either touch or are inside the sand. Not only that, but he would also have access to a Jin cloak. I probably think stage 2, which is probably skip stage 1 if that's just me though. But at the same time that he would have access to a Shikaku chakra mode, which is basically Gaara's sand armor that just that's like a humanoid Tanuki, if that makes sense. Now when we move on to Killer B, it's a little bit different. Now granted, I will say this, Killer B has access to his 8 swords fighting technique. He also has a lightning chakra release due to him being in the hidden cloud. Not only that, but he's also the Jinchuuriki of the 8 tails Gyuki, which is, some people think, is the second or third, depending on if you want to bring the 10 tails into this, strongest tailed beast in Naruto. So when it really goes down to it, I think personally, when with Killer B also having access to that, he was able to wield the Executioner's Blade, which was just mind-blowing that he was able to do that. Also able to wield Cyhadow, has access to Jin Cloak 1 and 2, partial transformations, and also be able to transform into Gyuki himself, and also, shoot out a tailed beast bomb. Also, I forgot to mention is that Gyuki is able, if this ever happens, if Gyuki's tentacle gets split off of his body, Killer B can hide inside that tentacle that was taken off the body and able to survive in it until the bad guy goes away and he can just escape out the tentacle and live his free fucking life. Now, how would this look in a death battle? Well, we gotta go over two different scenarios. Like I said, Gaara was in Jinchuuriki, and if he wasn't by the end of Shippuden. Now, if we're talking at the end of Shippuden, Killer B has access to Cyhadow, which is a chakra, a living fucking shark sword. But mainly the thing we gotta look at is that Sasuke was unable to keep up with Killer B using his 8 swords technique. Gaara struggled to keep up with Lee when he took the weights off. So if we look at those two things, and I'm not saying one is faster than the other, one slower, whatever the fuck. Basically, I'm saying at high speeds, actually technically Rock Lee with the weights on, Sasuke was not able to keep up with. So if we think about it for a second, if Lee was able to beat both Sasuke and almost beat Gaara, and Sasuke definitely could not keep up with Killer B. I'm not saying Killer B is as fast as Lee with the weights on or off. He has to be he is obviously fast enough to where the Sharingan can't keep up. But if the Sharingan can't keep up with Lee or Killer B, I personally think that Gaara's sand that has his mother's chakra in it would kind of struggle keeping up, especially with Killer B's 8 swords technique. But at the same time, he would also throw in Cyhadow attacking somewhere, also having it to where he pulls a partial transformation. The tentacles are attacking from different locations, and if possible, I don't think Gaara's sand would be able to withstand a tailed beast bomb, let alone a Jin cloak covered Killer B that's doing a lariat. I don't think that sand's protecting Gaara for long. That's all I'm saying. Now, personally, it is possible for the sand to withstand it, and not only withstand it, but able to do, seal Killer B away. But like I said before, if Killer B is able to separate a tentacle from Gyuki in his Gyuki form, he's able to hide in that tentacle and basically attack Gaara from any direction. But personally, I feel like if Gaara was not a Jinchuuriki, he would lose this death battle. Now, if he was a Jinchuuriki, Killer B fucked. Now, like I said, Killer B by himself could possibly beat Gaara without being a Jinchuuriki, but with Gaara being a Jinchuuriki and being friends with Shikaku, and I personally feel like, what I said, I feel like the defense from his mom's sand that's protecting Gaara, his sand armor, and Shukaku's chakra running through all the sand and all that shit, and plus with Gaara being able to make more sand by destroying the area with his sand to make more sand, I personally think that with Gaara mainly having so much access to sand, and depending on the location that they are in, which will end up create more sand due to whatever fucking reason, that sand is going to somehow be able to track Killer B's chakra signature either on or in the sand. And with that being said, the sand may not withstand the tail beast bomb, but I'm pretty sure Gyuki and Shikaku may have a tail beast bomb battle or whatever the fuck, but mainly, not only is Gaara going to be able to seal Killer B away, but also be able to kill him possibly. Actually, no, he's just going to seal him away. There's no way he's going to kill him. He's just going to have to seal him away using either Shikaku's magnet release sealing technique or Grand Sand Mausoleum. Those are the only way that Gaara is going to win if he is a Jinchuuriki still. But, that's just my take on it. Gaara as a Jinchuuriki, he's going to win. But if he's not a Jinchuuriki, he's definitely going to lose. That's just my take on it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, catch you on the next one. I'm out.